Hello, it's Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and I'm coming to you today on the full moon of the first day of Sukkot. Now, we celebrated the first night of Sukkot last night in our sukkah, and today is the first day of Sukkot. It's going to go to in the evening, we'll do the second night, and it's a 7-day long festival, 8 days sort of ish, because it has these extra add-on holidays at the end. But we've got the full moon today, and it's the full moon. It's a super moon. It's the moon in Aries, and we're in the wheel of the year at the Libra time. We're still in the month of Tishrei. So we're going to do a full cast with all of the Hebrunes down on the table today. I'm going to start by just shuffling them up and then casting them down, and then we'll move on from there just to give a read for what's coming into fullness right now in this full moon time, this harvest time, because we're in this festival of Sukkot, which is about harvesting. It's about rebuilding after the symbolic death of Yom Kippur. And we're starting again by building the small house outside in the yard where we dwell in this fragile dwelling for 7 days. And so let's just do a read on that with the full moon and the harvest and what's coming in. Okay, we start by removing all of the letters that ended up face down. And then we'll read what's left. Now there are a couple in here. I think that one's the Ein Sof, so we're going to leave that one. I'll double check, but pretty sure. Okay, yeah. Alrighty, let's take a look and see what we've got today. I'll zoom this in just a bit so we can see a little closer what we've got going on. Alrighty, I'm going to start at the top today. And this is perfect. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Kaf. And it landed like this, which is upside down. It generally looks like this. And I'm going to read it a couple different ways. Kaf is the letter that represents the hand, the palm of the hand. And it's the covering over the sukkah. It's really, it shows up twice in the word skach, which is what we call the stuff that we throw up on top of the sukkah to shelter us from the sun. It is the letter that rules over the sun in the sky. So it has this sense of sort of source power that comes with it. It's also the first letter of the word koach, which means strength or power. And it's way up at the top, and it's reversed at the top. And what I like about that is when something is reversed in the upper half of the reading, it sort of represents a strength, but also internally. So it's saying to me that right now we're in a time of internal strength, where we're reaching deep inside for our own source energy, and also that we've got this shelter that's happening over us. The sun is shining down on us, but the hand of the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence, is sheltering us like that shach that's on top of the sukkah. It's also the palm of the Shekhinah who's lifting us up and holding us in her hand. And it is the binary transformation of wealth and poverty. So it's a good time for us to consider what our harvest is. What is the wealth that we're bringing in or holding right now? And what is the power that we can use to hold on to that and give appropriately, that give and take that is spoken above in that palm of the hand, sort of giving and receiving. How can we give what we can without overextending ourselves and making ourselves poor? And that counts not just in terms of financial stuff, although that's important. It's also about our spirit and our energy. How are we expending our energy and receiving back our energy and sheltering ourselves from oppressive power that might be coming down from above? It's also the letter that represents the covering over anything. So like a keter means crown, and kippah means hat. And it's sort of like those all start with the letter kaf. So what's covering over us, what's sheltering us, but also what's pressing down on us, what's sitting on top of our head, what are we giving the power over us, and how will that play out for us in the next period of time. Really tapping into the inner power here. The next letter coming down from there is the letter Pei. That's also reversed. And the letter Pei is the letter that represents a mouth. It's the mouth of the divine that is speaking creation into existence. And it's a spiral. So it's got this labyrinth shape to it where things are spiraling in and spiraling out. So that air that we're breathing in that comes to us from the divine then spirals around inside of us and is exhaled through our mouth with voice to bring creation into existence in the world, because we have also been given that power of speech. Again, upside down, it's saying that we can speak inside our own minds without having to say out loud necessarily things that we might not feel safe saying out loud right now. We can say those prayers internally. We can speak to ourselves, we can speak to the divine, and listen to the divine also within us. The Pei is the binary transformation of blessing and curse, sort of, what do they call it? Grace and ugliness. So how can we speak blessings instead of speaking curses? How can we internalize those blessings that we are wanting to speak, while at the same time not cursing those things that we don't wish to have in our lives anymore? So that's an important part of our harvest time too, is saying the blessings, maybe speaking quietly to ourselves, to the divine, to our ancestors at this time. The next highest letter on the reading is the letter Resh. Resh is the letter that begins the word Rosh, meaning head. So a new beginning. Something is starting here. And, Rosh is the first word of the word Rosh Hashanah, which means new year. Rosh Chodesh, which means new month. So something new is happening. We're heading out into a new thing. And also using our minds in a way that is profitable and wise. Resh is the binary transformation of seed and barrenness. So we're not planting, maybe we are planting seeds right now, but there is this time where we're discerning what has borne fruit at this time of harvest. What seeds do we have available to plant for next year? What are we holding out? What seeds are we reserving for planting in the next season? And which things did not give us fruit? Which things have we planted in the last year that were barren? And how can we avoid planting those in the future? Resh is affiliated with the intellect because it is the head. And it also has this sense of communication as well. It rules over the planet Mercury in the sky. In the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation, some of the letters rule over the planets. Resh is the one that rules over Mercury. Mercury is all about communication. So it's really interesting that it's sitting here next to the Pei, which is the mouth. So there's some communication happening, with new communication happening. Once we've sorted out inside what it is we want to say, we can begin with that new communication coming forward. Just to the bottom of the Pei, we have the letter Shin on its side. This is the letter how it landed. And this is how it usually looks. The Shin is the mother letter of fire. And we have this letter of fire, which is saying there's inspiration here. And again, having it being on its side or kind of sort of upside down this way, there's again an internal fire, some kind of internal inspiration. It's the first letter of the word Shekhinah, which is the indwelling presence of the divine spirit, particularly the feminine divine. So we've come through this time of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur where we've made Shuvah, which is return. We've done some changes, hopefully, Shini. These all start with the letter Shin. It's the first letter of the word Shalom as well, which means wholeness or peace. And it is this internal peace. We've got the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence, and the fact that it's reversed says that this fire is burning inside of us right now. that we are maybe turning inward as we go into the winter months, into the darkness. That fire is something we're going to light up in the darkness, but right now we're heading into this wet season. The summer has come to an end. Shin is the letter that rules over the summer in the year. So that's happening for sure right now. We're going to slap that back up here. The next letter in our reading looks like the letter Gimel over on the right here. Gimel is about moving forward, but you'll see that this is about the center line of the reading. The Gimel is face down. This is how it landed. It usually looks like this. And the fact that Gimel is face down is saying that it's almost like it's like a runner that is about to take off. But it's right now, it's not. It's at the starting block. It's not actually taken off yet. So Gimel is about moving forward. It's a camel or a foot. And it's about moving forward steadily. It can be about running forward as well, running toward justice. It's the number 3 in Gematria, so it has to do with this idea of harmony. And it harkens back to the 3 elements of air, fire, and water. So there's a balance here, but it's still not taken off. There's some kind of balance that's maybe coming. It is the binary transformation of peace and evil. And to that end, I think about it in terms of the fact that the Gimel begins the word Gan, as in Gan Eden, Garden of Eden. And within that garden, there were those trees, the tree of wholeness and wickedness, sort of peace and evil. And we have to make a decision about whether we're going to eat from those trees, the trees of knowledge and the trees of wholeness. And we are at this starting place where we've got this new beginning coming in, and we're about to take off into it. The new year has begun. So something is up with that. And then we'll move a little bit to the left here. And on the line here, we've got the letter Zayin. Zayin is the letter that is a sword or a scepter. And this is what it looks like. It is this letter that looks like some kind of tool. And it speaks to that idea of power. There's this sovereignty that comes with it. It's the number 7 in Gematria, which is the final day of the 7 days of creation, which is Shabbat. Shabbat is the day of rest, but it's also the day that we celebrate the Shabbat bride, again, the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence of the divine, where we get our power. That indwelling presence of the goddess is what gives us our sovereignty in the world. And it's right here on the center line, on the path line. So as we move forward into this year, we have to claim our own power here in order to, do the things we need to do in this coming time. And one of the first things we'll need to do is to take a rest, because Shabbat is an important part. The divine created all things within the first 6 days, and then the 7th day they rested. And I've heard it said, and like to repeat, that the divine rested not because the divine needed rest, but because rest is a divine act. And we also get to indulge in that rest as a divine act. So power is coming here. And then the next letter, as we move to the left, is the letter Yud. The letter Yud is that seed again. We have the Resh with seed and barrenness. The Yud is the smallest of all the letters. It looks like a seed. It looks like a sperm. It has this potential for everything within it, the way a seed does. When you plant a seed, you may grow a tree, and then the tree has fruit, and each fruit has seeds, and each seed has the potential for another tree within it. So Yud is this potential for ongoing power, but it's so small. It's like the first point, and the point that can expand out infinitely, like the one point from which the Big Bang happens. So this one point is here, and it's also the first letter of the word Yad, which means hand. So there's some action affiliated with it. It is the smallest letter that is the building blocks of the universe. And yet we need to do something with our hands in order to make it happen. We have to plant that seed. So there's action and power and planting that's coming. And it's sitting right on top of this letter, which is the letter Chet. The letter Chet is the letter that begins the word Chai, meaning life. So life is here, and it's the number 8 in Gematria, so it has this infinity loop symbol with it. We've got the pay up here, which is the number 80, 10 times 8. So this infinity, this ultimate infinite that is coming after the 7th day of creation, we get the 8th day. 8th day is the next day, the first day of the rest of your life. Chet is also the first letter of the word choshek, meaning darkness. And there is this darkness. We're going into the dark time of year in the northern hemisphere where the rains are coming and it's getting darker earlier every day. And so we're planting the seed, but the seed goes into darkness, it goes under the earth in order to sprout up and become something, to turn itself into life. So those are the things that are coming on the central line here. This moving forward, this power, this planting of the seed, and the darkness and life, both in the letter Chet. And just below Chet, we have the letter Tav. Tav is the final letter of the Hebrew alphabet. And it was lying on its back like this. It generally looks like this, upright. Like I said, it's the final letter, so it's a completion that's coming. Some major ending. The Tav is a stamp or a seal. Some scholars say that the Tav is actually the signature of the divine, that it's not the final letter, it's the signature at the bottom of the letters once they were all written out, that Shin is actually the final letter. But Tav is here, and it is saying that something has been sealed, or something is about to be sealed. The fact that it's on its back, well, we might be saying that ending is not quite here yet, that there's something that is resting and not quite ready to come to an end. It's the final letter of the word emet, which means truth. Truth being the first, middle, and last letters of the alphabet. So beginning, middle, and end brings us to the finality of truth. And I think about Tav as being this stamp or seal that is the past generations that have been sealed and stamped into us, into our DNA. And right now, whereas we're going into Sukkot, we have this tradition of inviting the ancestors into the sukkah to celebrate with us and to bring us their wisdom. So maybe the ancestors are here, resting with us in the sukkah. Tav is also the letter that is affiliated with judgment, Din. It is the end, the final of the letters, and the center of the celestial temple in the Sefer Yetzirah. It is also the letter that rules over the moon in the sky. And so we've got the full moon above us, shining above, and it's a harvest moon. So all of this is here to say the ancestors have come, the moon is here, something is coming to an end, some ending is coming eventually, not right now, but we can think about how we're judging what's happened in the past, how we're going to judge things that are coming in the future, what is being stamped, sealed, how are things that have ended starting again with that resh up above. Because endings always usher in new beginnings. Just below that and to the left, we have the letter Tzadi. And Tzadi is face down a bit. Tzadi is the letter that represents justice. Tzedek, which means justice, and Tzadik, which means a righteous person. Tzadi being face down might indicate that there has been justice has fallen over, that there's something unjust that is happening right now, and that we need to be aware of that. Tzadi is the letter that looks a little bit like the letter Nun bent over with the letter Yud at its back. So Nun being humility, and Yud being that seed or the first letter of the divine name, the Yud He Vav He. So humility with divinity at your back brings us to justice. But right now, we're face down with that justice. So this tav here, that stamp and that seal, something again is coming to an end, but the justice is not being carried out yet. And I say that because this is below the line, the center line, which would indicate that there's been some kind of miscarriage of justice that we need to be aware of. And just to the right and slightly below that, we have the Ein Sof. The Ein Sof is the letter that is no letter. It's the substrate onto which all the other letters are carved, the blank, the void, that timelessness, the primordial chaos, and the soil into which the seeds are planted. So down here underneath the ground, in the darkness, we have this void. We have this blank space, which represents the infinite, represents the divine, the existence of all before creation and oneness. This idea of Tzimtzum, the one who makes space. We have to have a blank page before we can write. We have to have a garden that has been weeded before we can plant. So we're in this place of, it's almost limbo of this void, this unknown, this infinite potential, but also maybe there's a little bit of fear around the unknown right now. And again, I say that because it's below the line. We've got this fear here, this fear of the justice that has not been taken care of. Down in the center of our reading, we have the letter Lamed. And Lamed is lying on its back. This is how it landed. This is generally how it looks. Lamed is the one letter that reaches above the line. So it speaks to hope, reaching up toward connection with the divine and planting itself into the earth. The Lamed is the first letter of the word Lev, which means heart, mind. That idea of really being able to discern by connecting and tapping into your own heart and mind, knowing what to learn from what you have experienced and what to teach. Limud v'lamed also both begin with Lamed. It's on its back, it's below the line, so I'm going to say there's been some concern about being able to discern appropriately what's the right thing to do. That perhaps we're not being able to hear our heart mind, that there's been some kind of silencing that's been taking place, or that there's been a fear about not being able to listen to our heart, not being able to have the hope that we wish we could have about the future right now. And that's sitting again right in the center below the line. And then we've got two more letters at the bottom. We have the Kuf. The Kuf is the letter that means, it's the first letter of the word Kadosh, which means sacredness, sometimes translated as holiness. It is a letter that, talks about what is designated toward divine service. And it's really low. This is one letter that reaches below the line. So reaching down into the basic things, down into the matters of humans that are not divine, and how can we find and learn how to designate things toward divine service. It's also the first letter of the word Kof, which means monkey. And so the animalistic nature piece is here. It's affiliated with the klipa, which are the shards of broken vessels that once held divine light. And those are scattered throughout the universe and they cause pain in the world. So down below, down underneath all of this, we have some discomfort, I would say, not just discomfort, but agitation, irritation, maybe wounding, trauma that is underneath a lot of this going on right now. And we need to find a way to wrestle with our humanity and our animal nature and figure out how to dedicate ourselves back to divine service, to turn this kof, this animal monkey nature, into kadosh, which is to say holiness and sacredness again. And then the last letter in our reading, face down at the very, very bottom, is the letter nun. It landed like this. It usually looks like this. Nun is about humility. It's finding our way into a position of kneeling and bending our head and bowing our knee toward the earth in order to find our place of humility without being humiliated, finding some kind of humbleness. Ne'eman is the word that begins with nun, that means humbleness. Nun is also the letter that begins the word nes, which means miracle. And yet it's face down at the lowest point in our reading. So there's been some lack of humility that is causing some discomfort here. That we need to not just be bowed with our bent knee, but maybe prostrate in order to right the things that are wrong here. And maybe we're afraid of being humiliated. Maybe we're afraid of that humbleness that might cause humiliation. But I don't think that's what we're dealing with here, because we have so much else going on above here. We've got power. And if we can really look at the kaf and our inner power and our inner shelter and our inner source, if we can speak maybe even internally that which we'd like to see in the world, we get to have a new beginning. The Shekhinah is here inside of us, lighting a spark right inside of us that gives us the potential to start again with the Resh, but also run forward toward justice. We have to grasp our own sovereignty in this, plant the seeds, plant them into the darkness in order that they can grow into new life. That the ending that's here, this generational piece that is, again, been stamped onto our DNA, has been stamped and sealed into us, but there's a miscarriage of justice. The humility is face down here, it's face down here. The justice is not being awarded. We're a little bit afraid of the unknown. We're losing a little bit of hope, and we have to wrestle with our animal nature in order to turn it back into sacredness and find our humility without being humiliated. And when we do that, it can bring us right back up to being sheltered over by the divine, lifted up by the hand of the Shekhinah, give and take, again, give what we can without making ourselves impoverished, and receive what we can without being hoarders, without taking too much. So I think this is a lovely reading. There's part of me that wants to pull out another card here. Hold 1 second while I go find it. Okay, I'm coming back with the Sovereign Oracle, which is a set of cards. It has words on it for the most part, but I just want to get one card to give us a little bit of direction for the outcome of this entire reading, to say, what is it we're looking forward to in this fullness? What are we harvesting right now in this full moon time of Sukkot? Let's see if we can get one card. And that's the one I'm seeing. It says process. Be curious about how you do it. Find a flow that works for you. Give the work time and space to unfold. Rushing will only delay things further in the end. Process. Yeah, I think that's right. There is definitely a process going on here where we have to, again, grasp our power, start our new beginning when the time is ripe, really tap into the ancestors, and don't be so afraid of the unknown. Find our humility, but without being humiliated, and be able to change that animal nature back into sacredness. And then we'll come back up to the sun above, speak what we'd like to see in the world. And again, there's my random chime saying, yes, this is the answer. Trust the process. Trust the divine. We are being watched over we're being sheltered, we're being given the opportunity to seize our own sovereignty and move forward toward justice. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have a beautiful Sukkot. Enjoy that full moon. And I will look forward to seeing you here next time.